Might be why I don't like signs on the ground, because it serves no purpose. It shows wreckage, and if you're not on an angle where you can see under it, you don't know what's under it. And the fact that this one's hovered a bit is kind of concerning, because with leverage is where most weapons gain its traction. So behind closed doors, this is the second object today that I've seen on the ground, and this one is clearly orchestrated a bit better because it's on private property as opposed to a parking lot, which is private property, but nonetheless the case is something lesser of the case, because just because something is a private property and you've got a parking lot, it opens the door to invitation, because anyone can knock onto a door. It's just nowadays people are saying you shouldn't be knocking on doors because people have more guns prevalent than what before. I don't follow that logic. So when you're talking what a parking lot is, oh, there goes my water, and you see something on the ground in a parking lot, it's more concerning than something on the ground on a private property's grass, because of course, get off my lawn. The statement, plain and, is more like conservative than a parking lot, because roads are known as public. That's why my biggest stance is on curbside. Being a curbside all-star is the sidewalk's one thing that you're allowed to be on. The fact of the matter that it is closer to a lawn than is a parking lot is highly controversial, and I know exactly why. One of something. Okay, alright. Tuned up and wired out and tuned up. In either case, you can trip a wire and something get exposed. I didn't want to speak about what's behind closed doors, but in nature, if you don't have friction, you can't make change. And in change with friction, sometimes you want a chaotic state, so it looks like things are moving faster, especially in the information age. But you don't want things moving faster if it's detrimental to your mortality. And this is what is called getting away with murder if you're doing this. Yeah, no, things run faster when there's more traction. And this is defining what a wave is. Because if you're riding on a wave, if you push a ball down a hill, it's going faster, right? If you push a ball down a rolling hill, I guess these are a bunch of hills together, it's going to be going faster if it has good perpetual motion. And when it comes to BMXing, if you don't have a chain on your bike, it's all about perpetual motion. You want those rolling hills. Believe me, you. I guess what begs the question is, what's ill intent behind closed doors? And this goes back to what the Wizard of Oz is. Excuse me if I have liquid on my mouth. I poured water all over my face because I can't hold the camera and drink water and pull a bike at the same time. My makeup artist is on leave. No, but they're ill intent. The road to Mordor is in Lord of the Rings, and it's nothing different than in the Wizard of Oz's Yellow Brick Road. It's just one is more sinister. But is it really? I want to see the movie that was The Wizard of Oz inside the Wicked Witch's Witch of the West castle, where she had her crystal ball in that scene. That whole scene revolves around her just noticing for the first time Dorothy. What events followed there afterwards is a bombardment of not orcs, but monkeys with wings, capturing and bringing them to the castle. That happened fairly quickly, eh? With ill intent advice through that crystal ball. But I've seen sharp objects on the road. A clothespin and a broken nail clipper. Both these metal objects, if they were underneath a sign or a piece of foam and my bike tire ran over it, it might explode because it could cut it and catching an edge. I'm not going into what weapons are, but weapons can either be made by nature, meaning litter on the ground, or it can be strategically put. People can put those sharp objects underneath things and have you run over them and have a bad thing happen, like cutting your foot on glass. You do not want to do that. Oh, excuse me. But if people are making things behind closed doors and they're hurting people with objects that are made of what we're about to cover in this vlog, then excuse me, that is definitely worth noting what ill intent is. I'm getting an early start to this morning, and I saw a piece of cushion on the parking lot, and this was actually the size of a square bigger than 1'1". And usually when I see a backpack like that outside, it's reminds me of what happened in Boston during the running marathon. And so it's with these objects, like in airports, they say never leave your baggage unattended. They don't want bags left around. They don't want bags left around because anything behind closed doors can be an obstacle. And I'm going to say that with the utmost certainty because I had a dream that on the sidewalk it was dogs. And these dogs were attached with the same thing that harnesses huskies during a race of not bobsled, but when you go and you say mush and you got those huskies all side up on a toboggan that carries it quickly. Can't remember the name of this sport, but imagine if that was the harness and all the dogs were on an entire sidewalk. Now this is only startling because this is what I viewed as the same of what if a spotlight was shined on all the sidewalks and it came from the flaps that opened of a courthouse. And I didn't know flaps of courthouses opened, but sure as enough, someone told me they did, and it sounded like they were right. Why would flaps of a courthouse open to peer onto sidewalks is something that is the same to a backpack being left or a slab of cushion being put onto a parking lot. They're all subject to something behind a closed door. But if you're arranging an entire sidewalk with dogs and harnesses, it's like walking down the road and someone would have had flags up. You don't know what's behind those flags. It would be behind closed doors. What if it was a sidewalk full of dogs in harnesses? This is jarring because it shows what I was just afraid of yesterday. Gene CRISPR editing systems making atoms the opposite of being broken down even. When one atom, if it couldn't be broken down even, like Democritus said, it can't be split, not cleanly. But the opposite direction would be building it up. And when CRISPR gene editing systems do this, it's different than what goes inside your body. Yesterday I had a fly, like a gnat, go inside my mouth, and it was flying so quickly that it tried going down my throat. But I knew how to cough up and spit it, these people walking behind me thought I was probably disgusted in them because it took multiple times to hawk up the gnat. And so if I would have swallowed it, it would have been equal to, I was saying at the time, swallowing like 1 or 2 perks, because that gnat could have been CRISPR gene edited into a GMO surrogate, which are being made. They've already been made, and so this is what is out there, but you don't know what's in them. And so then imagine if it was aluminum. I was eating chocolate and I didn't know that there was little flakes of aluminum that I'd eaten part of the wrapper, and slowly but surely as it dissolved, I felt like there was chunks in it. I didn't know if it was the outside shell of a almond, like the chocolate had almonds in it, but I'm glad I spit it out and didn't try to swallow it, because swallowing aluminum is a poisonous metal and it shouldn't even be put inside of your body. But one thing that I had a problem with growing up was going to go number 2, because I thought it was gross. And so I thought that as an adult, people are only as animalistic as every time that they drop a deuce. And so if you ratio all their actions in between these 2 moments, it's what I thought was a function of A, you're mortal, but B is kind of gross if that's what I think it keeps you mortal, because you're putting something from inside of your body out. And so it would be the same as me hawking up a fly that flew into my throat, but a lot heavier. But if that fly would have metastasized, like this food competition eater, LA Beast, eating a block of 10 grilled cheese sandwiches squished together, he said he felt the bread expanding in his stomach. What if that expanded to the size of dropping a deuce and was just from 1 piece of aluminum, or a gnat that flew far enough down your esophagus, creating God knows what, heaven forbid. But I wouldn't want that to happen with the audacity of the gene CRISPR editing system and me not know that that's what was going on. Because flies can also get stuck in your eye if they hit you in it, which is another commonality of your body with the waste that it puts out, sleepy seeds.